Welcome back, everyone. This is
Welcome,
Dr.
welcome.
Black, and this is the Distinctive Bullshit Podcast. It's been a while. New listeners, old listeners, we're glad you're here.
And my name is Whitney Renee, and welcome, everyone. So, today we just kind of wanted to take some time to talk about a couple things. And what we're going to talk about today, or just kind of touch base on, is well, first, let's start with this. So, for those of the new listeners, let's start there. For the new listeners, the reason why we decided to really start trying to do the podcast is we have these random conversations within ourselves. Like sometimes it'll be midday, at night, afternoon, weekends. And we were kind of just like, we should really just turn this into our own little thing because we definitely have different points of views
Ugh,
on a lot of stuff.
absolutely.
So that's a little bit of background, about us. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there in case you're a new listener. So today we kind of just want to touch on or talk about um, the variety in your circle and setting boundaries.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Because
so
those things go hand in hand.
kind of, sorta, it's kind of, sorta. So when we talk about, I guess, setting boundaries, we'll start with setting boundaries. Now, these setting boundaries could be work related, friend related, and also family related. So I'll let you kick off with how do you think you set boundaries with, let's start with you with family.
It's hard with family. I mean, it's not, I shouldn't say it's hard with family, but there's like people in your family, you have to treat them kind of like your friends. You
think?
you interact with your friends differently. Each
You
friend you interact with differently because there's different personalities. There's a different dynamic between you two. It's the same thing with family. You get along with other people better than you do with other members of your family. So you're going to interact with them a little differently. And I think when you interact with these people differently, you have to be comfortable in yourself
okay?
and in your adulthood to not necessarily say no, but really tell people like, hey, we're not doing this. We're not going to go down this avenue. We need to explore a different alley. We need to explore a different street on getting to the goal, whatever that may be.
Are you talk when you say that, what do you mean like with family? Like I guess for me, or okay, well we'll just say what you said. What do you mean? Like when it comes to boundaries, what are we talking about as far as boundaries? Are you talking about boundaries of communication, boundaries of saying no to them, boundaries of
All of it.
okay.
Literally like all of it. Like think about which one of my cousins do I talk to the most?
Well, we won't name
We
names,
won't
but
name names, but you
no.
know who I'm talking about.
Okay.
You know who I'm talking about. And it's one of those things where I love talking to him. He's great. He's funny. We share a lot of the same things. But at a certain point, you got to be like, all right, you're doing a little too much right now, and you're going to continue doing a little too much. And it's that's not where I want to be. You know what I mean?
What do
Like
you mean? Like that doesn't
conversations they might start off well, hey, how you doing? How things
right,
going?
right.
How's the family? Da, da. And then they just go completely sideways.
So for me, I feel like with family, I feel like the only boundary I would actually set with family is just respecting, I guess, my how I handle my family in an individual like aspect, not in a family dynamic. So like with me, and this is where there's like it kind of goes hand in hand, kind of, but not really. Like I feel like, okay, example, like in a relationship, to me, especially when you get to a point like whether you're married or whatnot, there's
Hmm.
no limit, there's no like there's boundaries, but there's like sky's the limit with however you want your relationship to be.
Right.
That's something that is between you and your spouse. But with your family, you have to be able to set boundaries and be like, you shouldn't have to explain yourself on why you and your husband can't make it to something.
The
You shouldn't
sky's
have
not the limit.
right, right,
There's
right,
a
right, right,
there's
right.
a ceiling.
Like if I want to do something with my family, you necessarily don't, those other said family members shouldn't necessarily get upset about it because that might
They have
not
to be understanding.
they do have to be understanding, but not really. It's really not up to them to be understanding either. Because when you think about it, they are my family. And the whole theory of when you marry somebody, you marry their family, I call bullshit on that shit. Because that I don't think that's how it should work. Like I feel like yes, there's going to be a difference. There's going to be those boundaries. Like okay, these are my in-laws, or this is my sister-in-law, or this is my brother-in-law, or these are her cousins. It may take time to build up to that type of relationship. So I think people have to learn to separate. Like, okay, it's okay for them to be okay. Yes, we're all family in a sense, but you don't just start loving somebody from the get and then it's like y'all have known each other since birth.
Yeah.
Hell, there's cousins I've been cousins with my whole life. I still don't fucking know them. I
Yeah.
don't know them fools.
But I'm the same way. I mean, you know, my dad's side of the family is like that. I know of them. You know what I mean? But with that, when you're talking about when you marry into somebody, you marry their family. To a degree, that's true. But again, I think it comes it's more, what's the best way to put it? Like it's more adultish.
Okay. So boom, not to cut you off.
Go
I
ahead.
don't want to cut you off. So boom. Let's say, how do you handle or what type of boundaries do you set when, okay, we'll just use my family as an example. We'll just use an example. Me and you are married. We're together. You and I have kids. My mom or dad tells you how to parent our said kids. What type of boundaries do you set? Is that something that you have a conversation with them beforehand and say, I prefer X, Y, and Z? Or do you call them out just in front?
Oh no, you call them out.
See, I don't agree with
that's
that.
Something you gotta set. That's one of those things where you have to set the boundary like in that moment. Like it's our relationship. When I first met your dad, I wasn't like, hey, I'm going to marry your wife. And when we have kids, you cannot tell me how to parent my kid. You can't tell me that.
My dad would have been like, nigga,
who are you talking to? Right. You don't have, that's weird. Because what if we came into our relationship and we didn't work, but I had that conversation with your mom and your dad, with your grandmother. You can't tell me that I'm going to raise my child a certain way and we ain't even planning on having kids yet. We're fresh into our relationship like 1 year.
I was more so saying like, okay, say if that situation arises and it's one of those things, what do they say? Stand by your spouse in public and correct them in private. I feel like if that situation ever happened, something to where we were doing something and my family members didn't agree with it, I'm not going to say anything to them right there in that moment. Now, what I will do is say, oh, okay, this is X, Y, and Z. This is why we do this. We'll talk about it later. Because the last thing I want to do is make everybody in the room feel uncomfortable as fuck. Like that's not me. I don't like confrontation like that. Like I know people like I don't. It's one of those things. It's kind of like you want to respect your elders. You kind of have to be like, they know this. They've been around the block.
Yeah, but flag on the play. Flag on the play. Okay. Yes, flag on the play. And yes, you should respect your elders, but I think now in our lives, we've gotten to a point where we are the elders. We're at the point in our lives where we're
an elder. I ain't know.
Shut up. Where we're taking over the family dynamic. You know, you're not looking towards, your grandmother or your grandfather or your dad to really bring the family together anymore. There's history with that generation, the generation before you. It's the same thing for our kids. At some point, when they hit their 30s and early 40s, they're going to be the ones that are going to have to take over. But how do you have those conversations? How do you tell your kids when they get to be of age, when they get to be our age, like, hey, these are things we're not doing anymore?
Well, that's the thing. I feel like, okay, then by that theory, you have to understand that sometimes being the elder generation, allegedly, we'll say allegedly.
You got to let go of the power.
No, I was going to say you have to unlearn things that were instilled in you at some point. So you have to take things with a grain of salt, and you have to be like, you have to remember that, because there's going to come a time where you're going to be in that same position as my mom or my dad. And are you going to, and you're going to feel like this, I'm the fucking elder. You're going to
listen to what I say.
Listen to me. So I think at some point you have to do and set those boundaries within your own family dynamic, and then later then explain it. But really, I'm kind of like, I don't owe you nothing. I don't owe you no explanation or no loyalty because I'm grown. But I do honor and respect you. That's the bottom line for me. I honor and respect you, but I don't have to tell you my parent. I don't have to tell you. I really don't. I'm just doing that out of respect. I don't
Yeah,
have to
but
tell you
there's a
why.
push and pull to that.
Right. I don't have to tell you why they have to go to
That's
bed at
that is
8:30.
very absolutely. I 100%
I don't have to tell
agree
you
with that.
why because I
Like if
said
like when we go back to Illinois and we visit my family, they like to party and they stay up late,
mm-hmm.
whatever. We can't go in there and be like, hey, we got to shut it down at 9 o'clock because my kids
we early,
right.
Because
No,
that's not right.
That's not. But how do you set that boundary? Like, hey, can we kind of keep it down?
No, you don't do that. What you do is you have to learn how to adapt. You have to adapt to the environment that you are into because you can't run somebody else's household and you can't run the way that they do things. So with that said, one or two things: let your kids stay up late and call it, hey, we all up.
we all partying.
We in here. Right?
This is the only time out of the year that you
That's
get to
it.
party
And
past
have fun.
9 o'clock.
So boom. So that's really good. So I mean that's a good way of looking at it. We're gonna take a quick little break, and then when we come back, we're gonna kind of touch back on setting boundaries with friends and also things in the workplace because
Ooh,
we deal
that
with that stuff
workplace
all the time.
man.
So stick
Damn
around
potlucks.
and right, we'll be back. Welcome back, everyone. My name is Whitney Renee.
This is Dr. Black
What you laughing at me for?
because you're funny.
Okay.
You're
Any
beautiful.
Hooters.
I love you.
Yeah, sure. So, all right, we're just going to jump right into it. We're going to talk about setting boundaries in the workplace and also with your friends. So, I want to start with and touch on very briefly boundaries with your workplace. And I think that sometimes we as people, we get we get afraid to
say
set
no.
no, not to say no, but to like set boundaries within your workplace. Like example, like I don't feel like you have to always give a definite reason on why you want to do something unless it requires approval from your boss or
Even if it requires approval, I don't care what you think I should tell you, but I don't need to tell you what's going on in
no,
my
you
life.
don't have to tell. That's not what I mean. That's what I'm saying. Unless it's like a policy. That's what I mean. That's the only reason. That's the only way that there'd be a boundary involved.
Yeah, but even if it's a policy, in all reality, what policy does a workplace really warrant?
Their policies, fool.
And
So you don't want to have a job.
no, I tell my job now, if I need to take some time off or I need to go do something, I
that's what
just
I'm
need to do that.
That's what I'm saying. That's setting a boundary. So you've set a boundary of that. Okay. So I think that more people should normalize. I should say this. More people should normalize like saying no to their job.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, or not even say,
Not even saying no. Yeah, not
just
saying no,
setting
but
boundaries of
being more private, I would say, would be the best way to do that. Like you don't have to give your job your all.
no. Like, but I think we're in a culture where we feel like as humans or as people in the workplace, we feel like if we're not updating our bosses on every update on our life and aspect, that we're not like a nice person or we're not.
You might get fired because you didn't give them all the information.
I've never personally felt like that. I feel like people feel like they kind of have to overshare. That's what.
Yeah,
There we go.
That's there you go.
We feel like we have to overshare to make it seem like we are a workable person. Like for me, I don't necessarily want to share everything that I'm doing on the weekend and what I got planned for the week or the reason why I took this time off. I took it because I needed it, and that's that. Like, I don't ask you why you're taking off or what you're doing this weekend. And I feel like if I do that in the workplace, because we have a workable co-working relationship, like that's okay. I think also we need to start normalizing that everybody at your job is not your friend.
Oh, absolutely not.
You don't, like, you actually start to see that, like, I won't even add people. I won't even add you
on Facebook or none of that. Yeah.
Like, I'm not about to give you a reason to look into my private life. Like, there's a saying I always say. What do I always say? There's your public life, your private life, and your secret life. And your public life is what you kind of want to portray off to people. that's your public, like
Of
what you put on
what people
social
see on
media, what
Facebook.
people see
Yeah,
on your
absolutely.
okay, and then your private life is like things that you genuinely like to do. You like to keep a secret to yourself or maybe your spouse. Like you guys have a private life. You
Hmm.
necessarily don't share those details, which that's
Right.
perfectly normal. Then there's the secret life. Your secret life, I don't know, hell, you could be a henchman or something. Shit, I don't know. But I think that society has taught us you're at work and just devil's advocate, you do spend a lot of time with those coworkers more than you do sometimes even with
Your
your
own
family and
family. Yeah.
friends. So, but I think that there's a fine line. Like if you don't want to participate in a potluck, I hate potlucks, by the way.
We're not
Fucking
gonna
hate
get into
them.
potlucks.
Yeah, we're
If
not
you
even
let me
gonna.
tell you something, if you go to a potluck and you're eating the food that people make,
Mm.
you're brave.
I wouldn't
Because
even necessarily call it brave. I
no, you
actually
are
think that
brave.
you're asking for. We're not even. We just say we're not going to go down that that rabbit
Yeah,
hole.
no, let's
So
not
we're
do
just
that.
not.
Yeah, you're
Um,
brave. Let's put it
but
that way.
and also I think you should normalize like if you can't do something like a work related function
You shouldn't be
after
guilt tripped.
hours, you shouldn't be guilt tripped on why you can't. Because, like I said, you spend more time at work than you do with your own family. Me personally, I want to, when I get off work, I want to go home. I want to spend time with you guys. I want to spend time with my friends because I'm with these fools all day.
Mm-hmm.
There's people that I don't want to necessarily get to know outside of work, and I'm perfectly okay with that. But again, I think society has taught us you have to like
You
everybody
have
at
to
your
like,
job.
right? Yeah, not even you ain't even got to like, but you have to be cordial and always be communicative with the people at your job. And I'm not married or in any type of relationship with you fools besides this business relationship.
Right. That's all it is. It's a business relationship. That's a good way of looking at it.
That's
Also,
all it is.
I think we should set boundaries with the way I feel like now you have to kind of deal with the culture of, okay, like you have to deal with feeling like you always have to speak to everyone at work.
Man, forget that. I speak to the same people I know that I'm gonna get a response from. I do that at work.
Yeah, but I'm saying like most people feel like, I think some people like get their feelings hurt. They feel like, oh, she doesn't talk to me. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I feel like you click with who you click with and you get along and you share interests. I'm never just not going to ever not speak to anybody. If I'm walking down the hallway, I'm like that in public. If I'm walking down the hallway or you share interests and you just ask me a question, I'm not just going to look at you and be like, why are you talking to me?
No,
I mean,
you
there's
can
a
be
fine line.
cordial.
You can be
Yeah, you can
cordial.
be cordial, but I
Yeah.
don't have to. I don't have to divulge every little
Inch in
detail.
detail.
Yeah,
Yeah. I feel like this is my rule. We'll see how we do with each other the first year of me being employed there. And within that first year, if you make an effort, if you try to get to know me, if you're very welcoming, you will always get a response out of me unless we do something to each other where that relationship has ended.
oh, you're
Because
better than me.
but that's just me.
Yeah.
That's how I handle things. I'm not going to bother myself or worry myself about who's speaking to me and who's not. It is what it is at that point. It's water underneath the bridge. Because when I leave, you better not be that. If you didn't ever talk to me and you wonder why I left and you're like, oh, we're so sad. I'm going to say, but why? You wasn't fucking with the kid.
To
My
begin with,
word. You
right?
wasn't
Go
messing with me.
ahead. Yeah, I know that's right.
Wow.
I had to add that in there. No, but I feel the same way because there's a guy at my job that does the same thing. This man has tried to shadow different teams.
Yeah.
He's tried to reach out to different people and he gets ghosted. And he's shown me the receipts.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's weird because I don't get that same response from people. Because with me, I demand respect. You're going to talk to me, whether you want to or not.
That's a boundary you set. You've demanded respect. Also, you know what I say? Start off in the beginning, what
you can put up with in the end. Yeah,
'Cause,
absolutely.
I mean, it is what it is, but I feel like with your coworker that is going through that, I feel like had he set those boundaries in the beginning, the outcome would be different.
But me and you, he's not from the United States.
Right.
So he's got a different
Like culture.
Right. People in the States, no, like they're going to be more upfront and a lot more demanding or aggressive towards the idea that, hey, you need, and I put that in air quotes, to talk to me. You need to address me as whatever. I'm not like that, but if I'm coming to you about something, I'm going to bug you until I get a response, whether I already got a response or not.
I'm not.
And then when you come back and say, "Oh yeah, I can," I'm like, "Oh, don't worry about it."
No, I'm not going to do that. You want to know why?
Why?
If it takes all of that for me to get a response out of you, we're just not going to talk. But then,
And I agree with that
but
100%.
then when you need something from me, I'm
going to give you the same energy.
No, I'm not going to give you the same energy. I'm going to kill you with kindness, and I'm going to give you the information. I've had so many times where somebody doesn't speak to me, and then out of random, they'll speak to me, and I say, "Oh, you speak."
You talk, yeah.
And they look at me stupid. And I'm a little petty. I will make you repeat what you said to make sure that I know that you can speak, that you're capable of speaking. I'm not going to hound you and hound you and hound you because I could be doing other things like playing on my phone, taking my lunch break, lollygagging. No, for real, getting my work done. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like one of those things. But no, it's not that deep for me because, again, I used to not know. You. It really doesn't matter. You can pretend like you didn't see it because I'm going to have the receipts on why you didn't respond.
Yeah,
that's all the proof. That's all the proof and information I need.
That's all you need.
So,
and now everybody's moving to Microsoft Teams. That stuff is saved.
That is true.
All that information.
All that information is saved. But not only that, I just think we just have to normalize setting those work boundaries. Like, it's okay to be different from people. It's okay to say no to after hour events. It's okay to not get along with everybody
and not feel guilty about it.
And not feel guilty about it.
I think that's the biggest thing with people, like not feeling guilty. Well, if I don't go to this potluck, maybe the next question I have and I ask Jim about this problem, he's not going to respond to me because I didn't go to his after hour party.
Listen, Jim, are you going to give me the information or not? No? Okay, cool.
All right. Then let me go to John, who's your colleague who works on your team.
Okay, John, you don't want to answer me? All right, cool. So it's not getting done.
Right.
Period.
Simple as that.
Simple as that.
But don't come at me complaining to me about why something didn't get done when I'm waiting on you.
Right.
I hear that. Now, what about your friends?
I think, well, okay, so when we talk about boundaries with friends, I would say, I think now we live in a world where we think that our phones is meant for everyone to have access to you.
Mm-hmm. I don't believe in that, just for the record.
No, I'm not saying that you do personally. I'm saying
not personally, but just in general.
I think that's a good boundary to set. I also think a good boundary to set is recognizing that it necessarily you should be confident in yourself to know what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. No one can guilt trip you into making you stay out later. No one can guilt trip you and making you do something you don't want to do.
I think a lot of people have a problem with that.
I used to have a problem with that. I am one to admit I used to have a problem with that. I felt like, and there's not anybody in particular that would badger me about it, but it was my own self-doing. It was me saying, well, if I don't do this, they're going to stop inviting me. Or if I don't, do this. But
it's like a self-conscious thing.
Yeah, that's like a way of self-sabotaging you getting in your own head about things, right? But the truth is, everybody feels like that. They're just not truthful in themselves about it. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm walking in my truth. Everybody knows that auntie, aka I'm auntie, y'all. Don't ask me to go out at 9 or 10 o'clock. I need to
we're
already
meeting,
be
We're meeting at the place. We're meeting at the spot at 9 or 10 o'clock p.m.
I'm not there.
We need to be there for an hour at that time.
Exactly.
Because I'm leaving an hour later.
Holla at your girl at 7:30, 8 o'clock, okay?
Absolutely.
Because, not to be funny, you have to think of your dynamic, too, within your circle and your friendships. Like, a lot of my friends, we all have kids, or the ones that are single and they don't have any kids, that's fine. But what you can do as a single person with no kids, I can no longer do.
Right. Them days is over.
My kids get up early. I have to be in. I have to and want to be in at the latest for me, like 11:30, 12 o'clock. And it's only because our fucking kids get up at like 6 a.m. in the morning.
On the weekends.
On the weekend. They the club is going up at the house on the weekend at 6 a.m. So, like I said, a lot of that was me, not anybody, like I said, badgering me. It's more so, okay, I still want to hang out with my friends. I want to do things, but I know I want to. So setting those boundaries is very important. And also, what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. I don't have those problems setting boundaries with friends because I think, like, I have my friends, but I don't talk to my friends all that often. So like our boundaries are very wide with the
Mm-hmm.
information they share and how we interact with each other. We don't
Mm-hmm.
talk to each other that often. So when you have that moment where okay, all the boys is talking and you know the Facebook chat or
You're
whatever,
enjoying it.
you're enjoying it.
Right.
It's the tea, it's the juice, whatever you want to call it, and you like okay, I want to soak this up as much as possible. But at the same time, it's not like with me personally, it's not giving, I'm taking in a lot of information, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
not giving a lot out. I'm not that exciting. I have a family. We do family stuff. We're
Well,
not out here, you know, oh yeah, let's go off and we saw a fight over here at, you know, said restaurant or whatever and all this stuff happened and there's this big elaborate story behind it. No, we went out, we had dinner, we came home and we went to bed. That's my life. There's not, you know, there's nothing to share. So for me, it's not, there's no problem with that. But I see some of the stuff that you go through, and I'm just like,
well, it's not. I wouldn't say necessarily that I'm going through it
No,
again
yeah, I'm bad words, bad
because I'm
wording.
like I don't
Yeah.
really go through anything. I don't. I don't. I have a very small circle, so I enjoy and cherish all the time that I do have. But what I mean
Mm-hmm.
by setting boundaries with your friends, like just knowing that you have to be understanding. I feel like we're in a point in our life where nobody, even me, I don't expect for any of my friends to necessarily show up to everything that I have. I don't expect them to invite me in things that they want to do because that might not be my jam. That might not be my cup of
You're a
tea.
married woman.
Not only that, I understand I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I might be somebody's cognac or whiskey or vodka or wine or soda or water. I may be my friend's water to where she just needs a little bit of something to put it to quench her thirst, and that's it. And I'm okay. That is
Mm,
perfectly fine with
yeah,
me. I may be somebody's wine that they drink every night. Like they want to, they need to talk to me. I
that's me,
appreciate
y'all.
that. That's you.
That's me.
You are not.
I
I
need
am
my
not.
wine. You my champagne.
Also, I'm nothing because you barely drink it.
That's not.
Yeah,
Don't do
then
me like
I need to
that.
be your IPA. You know what
Well,
I'm
I
saying?
do.
Because you
Yeah,
drink
I
IPA.
drink IPAs all the time. But you my water because I drink water all the time.
Okay, so I'm your water and your IPA. But you get what I'm
I get
saying.
what you're
It's one
saying.
of those things where you have to know individually how to treat your friends, and that should be okay for
That's so
what
difficult sometimes.
you
'Cause
think so.
that's too much brain power.
I don't think it is.
Why can't you just be you?
You can. That's what I'm saying. You be you, but your version of you being you will be different based on the type of person or friendship or relationship you have with that person.
But see, then that chops you up into different sections.
It
Like
doesn't though.
you're this whole person, and we'll say you're sarcastic as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
but you can only be sarcastic with friend A. Then you have to be a different type of sarcastic with friend B.
No, that's not what I mean. That's not what I mean. What I mean by because I'm sarcastic as hell,
I know.
and I give off the vibes of like I don't care. That's not. It's not that I don't care. I individually take the time out to actually truly know my friends. I know
Okay,
that
that's fair.
this friend, we don't have to talk every single day. We can talk once or twice a week, and it's like we've talked every single day because that's the type of relationship we have. I can still be sarcastic. They could be sarcastic with me. I have a friend where she'll be side eyeing me. I ain't gonna name no names, but she know what I'm talking about. She'll side eye me like, "Bitch, why ain't you into your phone? I know you see me calling." I appreciate that, but it's always been like that.
Yeah.
That's to me, that's a special. You know what I mean? That's a special relationship. But we're a lot more alike because we share the kids, we share the bonds, we share, you know what I mean? But I don't expect her to invite me to things that she wants with her other group of friends because that's y'all's jam.
Right.
We
right.
have our own, that's what I'm saying, setting those
You have your own.
boundaries.
You two have your own dynamic.
We have our own dynamic,
Yeah.
our own connection. So you're not necessarily chopping yourself into different versions to fit other people. You're just knowing what you want to do. Like y'all have a great understanding is what I mean. Like
Maybe
you,
that's why I don't have as many friends, or I'm not as.
yeah, like I really, because I
Yeah.
really invest in I feel like I really invest in the people that I want to be around or the new people that I'm meeting. And also, I understand too that every person you meet is not meant to be your friend. Every person you come into
Like
contact
you
with,
said, you've told me that before.
yeah,
Like the people come into your lives, and maybe they're just there for a little bit before. And we talk. I've said this before. My ex-wife was there for that purpose, and because of that relationship, I became a better person for you.
yep. And that goes, sometimes you have to be that friend and maybe a friend or something that is maybe going through something and you have to be that friend so that way they know how to be a friend themselves, because everybody's not good friends.
That's
There's
true.
time, I mean, we're all guilty of it. There's times that
Oh yeah.
I'm not a good friend. There's times that your friends aren't good friends, but setting that boundaries and talking to them and having those uncomfortable conversations on, what's not working or what's not. It's setting a boundary, but it's also being open and honest about the
I
type of like right relationship that you want to have. And I really truly feel like you should never have the same relationship that you do have all your friends anyways. Otherwise, you might as well just be friends with yourself. Because
yeah,
when you
I could
really
see
think
that.
about it, like,
Different people have different personalities for different dynamics, which yeah,
and that goes,
I can see that. I
and
can see
and that
that.
even goes with like as you get older and you, just because you're friends with somebody and you've been friends with that person for 15 years doesn't necessarily mean honestly, doesn't necessarily mean that y'all actually friends. It could
Yeah.
just be,
Oh yeah,
it
we
could
know all
just,
about
yeah,
that.
it could
Yeah.
just be simply that you're holding on to a relationship just because of the longevity.
Yeah.
And so
Just to say,
you
oh,
have
I
to
have
set
this
those
person.
boundaries too, and be like, you have to really like boundaries within your. Now I'm talking about boundaries within yourself, and be like, wait a minute, like where do we fall off? Like, you know what I mean? Like what
Mm-hmm.
is going on here?
What
What
happened?
happened?
Yeah.
How do we fix it, or do you even want to
Do
fix
you
it?
want to?
Because you
Just
don't necessarily have to,
yeah.
but
Them, like you
yeah,
said, them people come into your life for a certain
for
period of
a
time.
reason and season.
All right. Okay.
But
Washed up.
bye.
I love you.
Anyway, but okay, so moral of the story with your friends, your work, your so friends,
Yourself.
work, yourself, and also your family. You just want to make sure that you are either having those conversations with people or
Like legit having those conversations with people, not beating around the bush, but being like direct, like, hey, boom, this is what's up. This is what's going on. This is what I see on my side, and really giving that
and this
other
is
person your
why,
perspective.
right? And this is why I am who I am. Like it's okay to set boundaries. It's okay to say no. It's okay to say you'll think about it. It's okay to say I'll get back with you. It's okay to say, hey, I'm not in the space right now to talk right now. Can I call you back? Can we text? Can we meet up? Or, hey, I feel like we've been off. I've had conversations with friends like that and they've actually appreciated it. And when they have those conversations with me, I actually appreciate it. I'm like, shit, I'm gonna do better, bitch. Cause I haven't been, but I appreciate that. Like, I
Yeah.
think, excuse me, we need to get to that. Like, we need to get
Normalize that.
Normalize. There we
Yeah.
go. We're gonna normalize that. So we're gonna take a quick break and then we have our question of the day. And it's a very good question, and we just it kind of goes to setting boundaries, but also just the question I just kind of wanted to get everybody's input on, not nothing all fancy
Super
smancy.
fancy, yeah.
And we'll be back.
We'll be back, y'all. And we're back. All right, we're going into the question of the day. Tell them what the question of the day is, mamas.
Question of the day: is it okay for a married spouse to go out of the country or state with their single friends? Why or why not? Now, what I did was I asked a couple of my like personal followers on Facebook to get some responses, and we had a pretty good,
Probably like a good mix.
a good mix. We had a good mix. So, one of the ones I wanted to share with you guys. So that question was answered by a couple people. So we have one, Tart Gilbert Sr. He said, hell no, because there is too much at risk when there is that amount of distance and reach. So what do you feel about that? Just short one.
Real quick, I out of in state, yes.
Okay.
I gave you the okay to go out of state one time, and it was
Okay.
fine. But I would say probably never again, only due to emergency purposes. That is it. Out of the country, you can forget about it.
No, I wouldn't. Me personally, we'll get to what we think later. I'll just say what you thought about that.
Oh, what about yeah.
Okay, so next question is by Safara Alexandra. She says, yep, I trust my partner. If I didn't trust her, we wouldn't be together. So I feel like that's valid. I feel like, you're entitled to that, opinion or that thought process. I
Yeah.
I kind of feel like it's one of those things where, teach their own. You do what you feel like you need to do. And she feels like, yes, she trusts her partner. So if she didn't trust her, we wouldn't be together. So why can't you still experience trips? Another follower said, this is from my cousin, Mario Winkfield. He says, folks saying they trust their partner to leave the country with a bunch of single motherfuckers doing single shit are probably getting cheated on. Why not take that trip with a group of married women friends? Me personally, I wouldn't go with my single friends. And if I did, my old lady coming too, like it or not. I'll be damned if I got to hear y'all slaying shit and I'm all lonely. So that's actually a funny comment because I read it like as if it was like in his voice. So I thought that was
Yeah.
funny. Another good comment that was said was this. This comes from Lovely Life of Susanna. Yes, it is okay to travel with your single friends to another state and or country. I have learned every marriage is different. I absolutely hate trips without my husband. Happily, she says in quotes, happily married for 21 years. My cousin, happily married for 29 years, loves trips without her husband. Goes with single friends. She is completely appropriate when on the trip. She comes home to hubby. It is a second honeymoon every time. I think every marriage is different and each experience can be equally healthy. What is your thought on that?
I'm sorry. No, I don't know. Maybe. Maybe. That's I don't know. I don't agree with that. I really don't because like again, I'm in the boat where you're not going anywhere. I let you go once, but probably never again because I know the potential for disaster. Mm-mm. I say no.
I disagree. There's no potential to for the out of state is something different. Like I could be going out of the state with my mom or my sisters. Like that's not doing anything.
Yeah, but when you
The
need to
the
get
the question is specific to friends, like friends and or just people in general,
yeah,
not
but it
not things in the past or things that why you think I couldn't. I'm gonna go if I want to go, regardless. Period.
yeah, but okay, in that same breath, like what if something happens? Like how you
Right.
like when you gonna get back? Like how are you gonna be able to get back quickly if in the event that you really need to be back? You know what I mean? Like in state, it's a lot easier versus being in Las Vegas or something like that.
I'm not even gonna say that. I'm just gonna say you can't really say that because something can happen to me while I'm here in the same state.
That's
So
true.
by that knowledge, it's really about what you feel comfortable with individually. Me personally, I've only been, if it wasn't work related, I've only been out of the state away from you one time.
One
And it was
time.
for a very good reason.
Well, there was the work. Yeah, there was work related.
I said not, I said
Oh, not work
outside
related.
of
Sorry.
work,
Okay.
only one time. And any time after that, I'm with family. Like I knew them before you, no disrespect to you, but
That hurts.
that's my mom and my sister.
I know.
Like so it's something totally different.
Yeah.
I think ultimately it's about knowing anything that you're gonna do as an individual, you're gonna do whether you're out of the state or out of the country or not. But I just asked this question just to see what other people thought. And I'm gonna tell you why at the end. I'm gonna read one more response. So Kay Renee reads, she's a really good friend of mine. For what? LOL, unless it's a funeral or maybe a destination wedding, then it's a no for me, especially if there are kids involved. She says, I don't know. I feel like out of the country is some spousal, significant other family shit. Now, when you're single, then okay, I can see that, but literally out of the country for what? She was like, you can man trip it to the West Coast, South Coast, North Coast, all you want.
South Coast.
She also added, I see a lot of people talking about trust. It's not about trust. Some countries have poor cellular grids. And what if something important comes up and you're out of reach? And it's an extra hell no if y'all as a couple and or family have yet to go out of the country. See, I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Again, a wedding or a funeral are my only exceptions, but just because we feel like a trip, please try again. And then she wanted to, and another thing, let's discuss the trust comments. All these women talking about if you trust your partner, what's the issue? A lot of married men, and I mean a lot. It's sad how many married men be loving pics left and right of UPS drivers in tight shorts, leapfrogging in inboxes locally. So if out of the country women exotic and just something different is an option, I'm gonna say 60% of men gonna at least look or try they shot. So maybe y'all just the lucky other 40% whose husbands won't. But hey, what do I know? Um, she says,
That's
please no
the
one come for me. LOL, just my opinion. Yes, maybe agreeing not allowing your spouse to go out of the country is totally fine. I feel like that's the key word.
agreeing.
No, not agreeing, allowing.
Oh,
I feel like we're adults. If you want to take a trip to go see a friend out of the state, that's fine. I feel like out of the country, that's something me personally, I'm just going to speak for me personally.
mm,
I don't want to go out of on a trip out of the country with anybody but you. But my thought process is different. I'm thinking, see, I'm on some like morbid shit. I'm thinking
Jesus.
like if we gonna die, we dying in this country together. I don't want to
Wow.
be over there. Like, can you imagine your conscience? Like, she went out of the country and something happened to her,
Yeah.
and I'm here in the state. Like, and but then again, you can't really say that because something can happen to you in the states. I think it's more so if you're going to, I don't know, the Bahamas or like my cousin said, Belize or something like that, or Spain. Like, why wouldn't you want to experience that with your spouse? Like, you know what I
Right.
mean? Instead
Well,
of
especially if you've never been there before.
right, if you've never
Yeah.
been there before, like that, I feel like that's kind of like, okay, I want to go with my
I think I would
spouse.
feel some type of way if you were like, yeah, me and I'm gonna use Kelly as an example.
Okay.
Me and Kelly, we decided we're gonna go to Jamaica and
Yeah,
we're
I'm
gonna
not
hang out in
going.
Jamaica. I'm like, I want to go to Jamaica.
Right, that's what I'm
Like-
saying. But then again, I feel like it's fair to say it's again, every relationship is different. Every marriage is different. We're just gonna throw out that you're married. Let's just say you're just in a relationship.
Mhm.
What works for you may not work for somebody else, and you have to be okay with that. But you have the freedom to do whatever you want, and it's up to you to control yourself. It's not necessarily about the single people you're with. It's just that for me, I've been in situations where I'm the only married person. I can't
Yeah.
relate to anybody that their situations. I can speak off past experience, but I'm sitting here. What am I doing? I'm checking my phone. I want to talk to my kids. I want to talk to you. So at that point,
Why am I there?
why am I there?
Yeah.
But then I'm also enjoying the time with my friends in that moment. But like I said, I've only been on one trip like that. And we've been
Yeah.
together for we've been together for 10 years, married for 9. And even then it's kind of like, but the person I went on this trip with, we had a good time. It was a different circumstance and it was a good time. But would I necessarily keep going on trips like over and over?
again.
No.
Yeah.
Because for me, I would just rather, I would want to go with me, you, and the boys.
Yeah, because I mean, when we went to DR, we had a good time.
Right,
We
but
went to
that's-
Miami, we had a great time.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I'd rather either do something with other like-minded couples
Yeah.
or let's say we're doing a trip, we can do something locally. Like there's nothing wrong with that.
There's a lot of stuff you can, and locally, not locally like city, but locally as in state.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like yeah, you don't have to just be in a city. It could be you can go to Cleveland, Cincinnati. You can go to all types of stuff. Where we
Yeah,
live in Ohio,
anywhere,
but
yeah.
anywhere it doesn't necessarily matter. I just think I just thought it was interesting that the different comments people said was based on the fact of cheating. That's not even remotely what I was thinking about. It had nothing to do with
Isn't
cheating.
that interesting? Like the first thing people
Yeah.
think of is cheating.
Yeah.
Immediate, like off the
like,
rip.
Yeah, like they on some shit. No, that's not what I was thinking. I was just thinking more so like what people preferred. And I found it very interesting that every person, whether they were married, like I know that they were married or they're in a relationship, completely had a totally different response. And I appreciate that. See, that's one of those things where you're having this conversation. It's uncomfortable. I bet people are going to be looking like side.
Like,
That's gonna be the question.
so that's how we feel on Facebook.
Right.
Right.
Oh, they're gonna be like, oh, okay. So you don't want me going? No, I just wanted to literally genuinely see what people thought and why and what was their thought process. And almost everyone had an issue with, well, that's a red flag, or
Yeah.
they're being controlling, or you trust them. It was just a simple question of what was your thought? Like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like it was one of those things like, okay, what are really people thinking? It kind of uncovers what they feel. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it kind of uncovers.
But
And there was
I-
a lot of married people that.
But I think, but like you said, I think a lot of that is because the dynamic is, and I'm just using us as an example. Like we don't have a whole lot of married friends, so the dynamic for us is like, okay, well, I'm going out with a whole bunch of my single friends.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it was a whole bunch of married couples, like not even couples, but like yeah,
Just like a couple of people.
yeah, the couple people that are married,
Right.
you want to go. have a blast, go do your thing, you know.
No, that doesn't make sense. I don't
No,
agree
you don't
with
think
that.
so?
No.
Oh,
I'm not going again. That leads to the point.
but if it's a place that you've been to before, like
No,
say me and you, we've gone to DR before. You want to go with a whole bunch of your married friends? Okay, well, then.
no, because again, I mean, if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. To me, that's stupid. That comment is stupid. Sorry, I'm not calling you stupid. I'm saying that comment is stupid because that's kind of hypocritical. You're saying I can't go without with my married friends, but I can go with you. You're saying I can go with my married coupled friends, but I can't go with my single friends. No, the reason why, what I'm saying is why wouldn't you want to experience that with your significant other? For me,
I
is
see.
bottom
Yeah,
line.
I see.
There
I
is
see what
no.
you're saying.
I'm
But
not
like,
going
if
to do.
it's
I'm not going to do anything with my married friends that I can't do with my
with your
single
spouse,
friends
yeah.
or my spouse. To me, it's almost like a chain of command.
Oh, am I at the top?
Listen,
Okay.
it's a chain of command. You and your spouse should be as one.
Mhm.
You should agree to the terms, not even terms or conditions, but it could be a thing. It's a thing where you. Here's a good example. My Nana and Papa have never gone to a different state without each other. They don't believe in that. But they're a lot older. They
Mhm.
don't believe in that. They wouldn't even go to bars and stuff without each other. And if they did, it was more so of a. It might not. It might have been something where I don't know, like you're just going to a lounge or something. I don't know. But it was never like they're taking trips out of the country by themselves. They're taking trips into different states by themselves.
Yeah.
That's unheard of. You know what I mean? Like people just
Mhm.
don't do that. Like, you know what I mean? Like just really think about all the people. You don't see your uncle. You don't see your Uncle Kevin taking
No,
your trip.
absolutely not.
That's what
If
I'm
he's with
saying.
his wife all the time.
And it's different. Like I said, it's different when it's in a state. And especially it's different like if your family, if you're I don't know. I'm talking about I think I more so wanted to hear everybody's input. Like you going to Vegas. I couldn't, me personally, I couldn't see myself going to Vegas with
couldn't,
my
no.
single friends.
Absolutely
I couldn't
not.
see myself going to New York with a whole bunch of single women. I couldn't see myself going to Miami with a whole bunch of single women. That's just me. I couldn't see myself going to Jamaica, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic with a whole bunch of women. For what? So I'm sitting up here in this beautiful paradise, and I'm laying up with a whole bunch of coochie. Sorry, this isn't like I want to be there with my husband. I'm just saying. I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
That's all
That
I'm
makes
saying.
sense.
So-
that makes sense. Okay, you got me.
Okay, I got you.
You
Boom,
got me.
boom,
Boom.
boom,
You
boom.
win
I
one.
was just saying that just as an example. Like I said, no answer was right or wrong. It was just the input on,
What you
Whatever I
thought?
thought.
Just what you thought. Yeah.
So we're gonna wrap things up here. I want to say thank you
Thank
guys
you very
for
much
tuning
for
in.
bearing with us.
Yeah, sorry, I'm a little tired now, but anyways, make sure that you like our Instagram page. Also, we can be heard on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts. I think we're on Apple too.
I have no idea.
You can add and check out this episode, and I want to thank everyone for tuning in again. And our Instagram page is called the Distinctive
Ooh.
BS Podcast on Instagram. And I'll make sure even on Anchor and everything else, I get everything all updated. But again, thank you for tuning in. And
We're gonna get better, I promise.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. We're gonna get better. We have a plan.
Yeah, sure. All right. Well, you guys have a wonderful weekend and we are out.
Enjoy. Take it easy.